tactical 40K. Once again, we're not talking about my Raven Guard army that I'm building that's coming along. We're talking about the 10th edition of Warhammer that's coming out. Excuse me, which I believe is coming out in May, because that big event at the end of April that they're going to have wherever in England. Is it Adepticon? Man, my brain is shot. Had a lot going on. But the event where they're going to have demos, they're going to have demos 10th edition at that big, I believe it's Adepticon. It's at the end of April. Well, anyway, whatever, you guys know what I'm talking about. So they're going to have the demo games there, but then also the Kansas City Open in June is going to be 10th edition, apparently. That's what was rumored. That's what got spilled over Facebook. So what does that tell me with all the leaks that are here? So we're saying May, or at the end of this, May, we're going to be full-fledged, pretty much 10th edition going on. And in fact, that's kind of what I'm waiting for as I'm building my army out, which it's going to be interesting because of these rules that we're going to talk about just for a second. I'm only going to do a pretty short video, but so they've come out with some new not leaks, or Warhammer community or Game Workshops is giving us little dribbles of what 10th edition is going to be, stat lines and all that jazz. So, you know, what we've got so far, you know, the Terminators, some of the Tyranid units, the Intercessor, stuff like that. Some of the organizational stuff, detachments, at least how they're going to work, not really what the detachments are. One of the things we did get recently was how we're going to incorporate characters, which looks like each different Primaris type lieutenant, or I don't know why I'm saying that. No, each kind of character has his own little flair, and he's going to be able to attach himself to certain units. The reason I said Primaris is because they use that Primaris Lieutenant Leader as an example, and then what units he can be attached to, and I believe it's pre-game. Excuse me. So like that Primaris Lieutenant Leader that they have there, you can go with an Intercessor squad, an Assault Intercessor squad, Blade Guard Veteran squad, I guess, yeah, an Intercessor squad, a Hellblaster, and then there's a couple of redacted spaces there. I don't know if that gives them a little nuance depending on what, I don't know. That seems kind of weird. But what it tells me is that, like, okay, so like I was showing you my Reaver Lieutenant that I got because I thought he looked cool. It looks like that guy's going to be able to, like, specifically attach to Reaver squads. And I know maybe an Infiltrator squad, but for sure Reaver squads, but that's where if you're going to attach them to a unit, he's going to have to attach that. With your Phobos Lieutenants, more likely your Infiltrators and your Incursors, he can attach that, but there's going to be limitations, it looks like. And then they buff up those units, and then some of the, like, kind of lookout sir type rules are within those units. So it's gonna be interesting. We also have some different kind of keywords or whatever, like the one that really interested me in going towards my Raven Guard-ish army, because I'm kind of interested in seeing what these attachments, if there's anything that they kind of have these detachments. Like I said, my theory is the box sets, but these detachments and abilities that line up with different factions. But this one kind of sounded cool because I told you I bought that Vindicar assassin to go along with that. But the lone operative deal, that seems pretty interesting. And then also not being able to be targeted by ranged weapons more than 12 inches. That seems pretty Raven Guard-ish in my opinion. But we haven't gotten any stats on that. The other thing, so these various ways of attaching characters to units and whatnot kind of goes into detail if you want to go into. I'm sure there's various other channels that talk about it, so I'm not going to go super in depth into this. I just find it pretty interesting that now we're going that route. Okay, so if you're with me this long, let's get into the other thing that kind of gives me another theory on what the game's going to turn out to be. So it comes out of these weapon stat lines, right? So they come out with these weapon stat lines. A melta-gun, that assault cannon with the Terminators, and then a bolter rifle, and then I think a couple other things. But those are the three things that I was more enthralled with, I guess, or they caught my attention. So there's various different characteristics. You know, you notice some AP is kind of gone. You notice they kind of combined all the bolters into pretty much one, which I don't know. I'm kind of wondering how that's I'm sure they've got it all thought out. I'm pretty sure we're getting little dribbles, because there's a carbine bolter that's carried by, like a Reaver unit sometimes. There's what else is there? There's some other special bolt weapons that are in from various chapters. But anyway, seems pretty cool. Turns into more of it's an assault weapon, which means you can fire it even when moving still. That's solid. That assault cannon. But here's what I'm getting at. Okay, so the melt-the-gun thing is kind of weird. But we couple that with the other thing they released, right? And that's the vehicle stuff, the toughness of some of these vehicles. And then in how the relationship between that and the weapons we've seen so far. And we also see what it looks like a return to an ability to like hit people with vehicles, because it insinuated, they read in an article, this vehicles can push people off of the objectives. So to me, I was like, can they ram people like they used to be able to do? Used to be able to ram dudes with vehicles and they take, so much damage. Excuse me. It's pretty cool. It's pretty realistic sense. I mean, might as well just go and kamikaze it in there, roll over some people. So it sounds like that's coming back. But okay, so we look at these weapons. It looks like certain specific weapons are going to be good at certain different things, which I like. So you're going to have certain weapons that are going to be, and units going to be tailored to specific tactics, if you will, or I would say battlefield rules. So gone are kind of the days of having some kind of vanilla list, I think, that's going to go in there and be able to compete in a tournament. Like you just take all of like one thing, or if you can get away with it. Now you're going to have to be a little more strategic, because what it looks like is you're going to have, if you come up against a army that's it has vehicles, these have a weaponry, you're going to have to deal with that somehow. And if you don't bring the proper equipment, it's going to be very tough for you to deal with that equipment. And same goes with infantry. It looks like you're going to want things to deal with them, but you're going to have to specialize. You're going to have units. And it looks like the units that you have at your disposal are going to be more tied into that. They're going to be more anti-armor specific, more niche than they were in 9th edition, or in the case of like a Raven Guard unit, or it looks like the Vindicar Assassin or something like that, more niched into taking out one or two particular targets, high value targets possibly. I'm seeing that because I'm saying that because I'm extrapolating from what I see from the vehicles, because it's obviously that they're tying the weapons in units with certain battlefield characteristics, which is going to niche them into certain roles, whether, like I said, anti-armor, anti-infantry, objective holding, or defensive measures, stuff like that, melee. So I'm seeing that it's getting niche out. I really like it, actually, because what it's going to have to do, it takes a little bit more of a sound mind to prepare for, like, let's say you go to a tournament. You're going to have to really think about the various armies that you might encounter on the tabletop, because like I said, gone are the days you can just take a list and be like, well, this is everybody's this is a list that's going to be heavily shooty, which you can get away with. One of the things at Imperial Guard, you can just throw as many bullets as you can downrange. I guess you still can do it, but it's not going to be, I don't think, as effective, because now you're going to have this, even in a Space Marine army, guys taking more armor and more transports and stuff like that. You can throw that. They had some stat lines on the some of the tanks, Space Marine tanks. I was like, well, those start looking a little bit spicy with some of those toughness levels, the way the rules are changing for those vehicles and how they're operating, and some of the weaponry possibly. So it's very interesting. And like I said, it's going to niche units out. Now, the thing that we have to really see going forth in this is how the detachments play out. Yeah, they kind of gave us a little skeleton, but then they gave us that little thing about how there are certain detachments that, like that, whatever, Gladius task force thingy. So until we see that and really dissect how these attachments are, that's when we'll be able to couple all these little clues together to see how it is. But I have a feeling that as they keep leaking these stuff, or not leaking it, as they keep dribbling out this information, then it's just going to become pretty self-apparent, and then you're not going to have to wait long. I say within the next 3 weeks, like I said, at the end of the month, they're going to do those demo games at that event. in there, I think they're going to release the starter set and the rules anyway, because they have that event in Kansas City, which is a fairly large event, and it gives players time to kind of brush up on the rules and get their own data slates instead of them showing up there, unless we misread the Facebook thing wrong and they're going to have people that already advance have the game and are going to demo it. But that's not what I read on what was, if the message is still there, if they, I don't know if they took it down or whatever, but that's not what I read on the thing. It said they were going to play 10th edition rules. So that, coupled with all the data we're getting out, or the every week we're getting a couple more things. This is how the game's going to work. This is how the game's going to work, blah, blah, blah. I say it's coming out here the next month, and we're going to be full 10th edition by June because of that event. Sorry, there's a creature that's drinking water. Anyway, that's it for me. I am still building my army, but with this new information, we're going to have to go around a little bit, because what do I got that's going to be anti-armor in my Raven Guard army? Because if you remember my list, what I have, I don't even know what Vanguard vets are gonna, if they're gonna be around in this edition, to be totally honest. So I've been working on those guys. Got my Reavers. More than likely, those are gonna be like highly anti-infantry. Excuse me, sneaky, beaky type things, and then my infiltrators, and then I got my Shrike and my snipes, my eliminators. I don't know if those are going to be more niched out towards those eliminating specific targets. I'm pretty sure the Vindicar Assassin is going to be more like that. So that being said, I have Victor Warsuits, and then I guess I need to get something else, because this new edition, like I said, niched out. I'm going to have to get a tank. I'm going to have to get a Brutalis Dreadnought and put in there, even though I've been looking at it. So we'll see. We're adapting. I know it's taking a long time for me to get this army out, but things keep changing. And hopefully 10th edition will be a little bit stagnant, as opposed to the ever-evolving data slate adjustments. Well, it's like have an edition that doesn't have to be adjusted constantly, and we can play, and we have enough flexibility to not have to keep adjusting to balance the data sheets, but to be able to adjust units and play. That is giving us enough flexibility that we don't have to go through there and keep writing rules. So if you do buy a book for $60, whatever it is, $75 pop, whatever the case may be, $50, it's not, pretty much useless within days. Anyway, talk to you later. Peace.